What's going on, gamers? What's going on, world? What's going on, Japan? So, here we have some supposedly inside intel from Endymion that Sucker Punch gutted and repurposed Ghost of Tsushima sequel for Ghost of Yotei. And apparently, Sony Japan, not Sony Western Studios, it's over in California, who we know is pushing this, was not aware of this, and they're apparently pissed off about that, which we've read that before. But apparently, there's some more information about this. And since things are more known now, Sony may be going the route of making this a light AAA title, kind of like Miles Morales. You know how we had Infamous Second Son and PS4 days, and they did Infamous Light, and then they did the Last of Us expansion where it's 49.99, but it's not a full-fledged AAA game, but it's a full-fledged AAA expansion. You can kind of say bigger than what you would call an expansion. They may be going the 49.99 route. So I'm going to read some more intel about this, like, subscribe, help this page out. I'm going to be doing this for quite some time, and you're supporting an intelligent person who's going to be exposing all this nonsense. And of course, we're going to have some more amazing gaming content around the corner. But I've been so busy with these articles and other things in real life that I haven't got the chance to really focus on that. And this just seems more important to me. You can always get to games. But going down, um, that we just read. The latest rumor comes from the YouTuber Endymion. When we have to state that until we fully see how things play out here, and it's going to say a lot about these sources that we get from whoever we're getting this from. But I find this to be believable in certain contexts about the recent behavior in the industry with the DEI woke agendas, and we all know it happens right in front of our face. So this actually makes sense because I thought Jin was going to be in the next game. So going over, it says Sony Japan is pissed off about being kept in the dark over the sudden change. You notice that says Sony Japan, not Sony West, which, where the main headquarters are at now, over the sudden changes of the game's narrative. He added, it does seem there is a huge disconnect between what Sucker Punch knew about this sequel versus what Sony PR teams knew. And this is not the recent behavior that's new here. We saw what happened with Assassin's Creed Shadows, right? Same thing. Next, he shared, as I was told like before when I reported on Yotei last. The game was indeed supposed to be Ghost of Tsushima 2 with Jin Sakai as the main character. This has been confirmed to me by at least, supposed to say two sources here, and I was told the skeleton of Tsushima 2 is what is largely being used to create Yotei into what it is now. That makes sense. I would assume that likely Jin would come to Mount Yotei, and then this is where he would be facing the next mongrel threat. But within the past 2 years, something has definitely changed at Sucker Punch. So that's like saying staff hiring and, DEI invasion enforcement. And of course, any male principal that was built and is succeeding and doing very well and sold 10 million. And why would you try to fix something that ain't broke that's doing incredibly well is now being boss rushed by a feminine principal, which is far left, which is what the communist society would try to do, or the liberals. Just saying. Seems to be a thing. He continued, the entire narrative was effectively gutted from what I'm being told and repurposed into the story about Atsu. Now, as you've seen in the new trailer, the whole wandering Ronin being hunted by other bounty hunter story that's presented in Yotei, I am assuming was originally supposed to be Ronin hunting Jin Sakai as the ghost. And another thing too is that it's supposed to be 300 years into the future. So if you messed with his story, there's no way he's alive 300 years later. Let's think about this. Go and read it. It says that this was supposed to be 300 years in the future. So somebody must have messed around with that. Because it doesn't make sense for Jin Sakai to be still around 300 years later. We all know that. That's not anything to argue about. So who did that? That's what I want to know. Damien then shared information provided to him by his source regarding a number of individuals who joined Sucker Punch around the last 2 years or so. First, he pointed Jin Lee Lucan, or Lucian, however you say that, who began work at Sucker Punch in March 2022 as a producer. Okay. He also pointed that Ariadna Martinez, a senior writer and narrative designer for Sucker Punch, who joined the company in May 2023. He also pointed that Courtney Woods, who joined Sucker Punch as a senior staff writer, so we have two female writers right here and narrative designers. in September 2022. Finally, he pointed to Kelly Snyder, again another, who became a senior producer at Sucker Punch in September 2023, probably guided by certain people. Given when these individuals joined the company, Demian stated, as you'll notice as I show these other examples, these writers and such, they all came onto this project later in production on Yotei. Almost as if the game was something else entirely before it became Yotei, meaning you scrapped Jin Sakai's projects and then enforced this in here. Because, like, the game was supposed to be done. Though they say it's launching next year, we're going to find out, as things go on, if this is, very accurate compared to what we're going to be shown next year. On top of all this information, Endymion also shared that Sony is currently deciding what to price Yotei at and how to promote the game going forward. As I was told currently, Yotei is being considered at Sony to be pushed as a spin-off title. So that's why I said it's a $49.99 game in the Ghost series instead of a mainline game, which would be $69.99. This was not the original plan, as I've been told, however. The game was meant to be the next de facto installment and the direction Sucker Punch was going to take this game series. Now he detailed the way Sony is currently looking at Yotei is that they might advertise the game as Miles Morales game, if you will, which kind of makes sense. While compared to something like mainline Spider-Man, as we know. We're talking, it might not be as big as Tsushima was. It might also cost less money as well at release when Miles Morales did when it launched on PlayStation 5 day one. That's some interesting intel right there. And Damian had revealed much of this information in a previous video where he also claimed that Ghost of Yotei would likely get delayed to 2026, a little over a week after Sucker Punch Productions senior communications manager Andrew Goldfarb declared the game would arrive sometime in 2025. We'll find out about that. He also stated, I was also told do not expect it in 2025 at all. Apparently the game's nowhere near being done, but it's also a very slim chance that the game actually releases in 2025. It could very easily fall into 2026, but if you're getting your hopes up for coming out next year, probably don't do that. Every source I spoke to say that they fully expect a delay at some point to be announced, he added. He also shared that the game was supposed to be a sequel to Tsushima. I was told that originally Yotei was not the original game idea at all. It was actually indeed Ghost of Tsushima 2 starring Jin Sakai. But sometimes during the development, the game was halted and then completely changed in vision. The Atsu character we see was not originally decided to be the main character of the game. Yeah, because it just doesn't make sense. Definitely if you're representing the samurai period. Again, like it's just like out of place stuff. Definitely hire an activist that has nothing to do with that region and setting. Why is she portraying that character? That automatically gives me a logical deduction that there's the invasion right there because you're bringing that person in rather than the original masculine source who's playing Jin Sakai in Japanese and over here in the West. So I can't deny that, conclusion if we want to, be a detective on that type of aspect because it makes a lot of sense. What are you doing popping up in here? And what does non-binary confusion have to do with that setting in Japan dealing with invasions? It has nothing to do with it at all. It's completely out of place. And apparently, according to my sources, Yotei's world and design are largely based on the assets that were being used while making Tsushima 2. That would be smart, and that makes sense. Apparently, the work began on Tsushima 2 almost 2 months after the official sales data came through on the first game's success. He also then shared the reason why Yotei will be getting delayed due to its change in vision. These changes from Tsushima 2 to Yotei happened apparently within the last year, so the entire vision of the project has been changed. Yeah, of course, because if you're basing a narrative continuity around the main character and you put that female on there and bring that activist nonsense in there, you have to change everything around that character. That's what people don't understand. It's not just you putting that character there, but it also affects the writing, the development, the concept, the voice acting, all that type of stuff. It's not just something that's light. It's a big issue if it's something that is done wrong for an agenda. So that's why I said he added the era of placing the game 300 years into the future from Tsushima's story was decided because it would be more believable in Sucker Punch's internal talks for the game to star a woman at that point instead. That's what I was saying. Like, why are you jumping 300 years ahead? Rather than continuing where Jen left off and everything was working perfectly fine. The only people that can be this type of retarded are the far left, are the people that are pushing those agendas. They only do dumb shit like this. Otherwise, it makes no sense not to continue something that was massively successful and to make it into some type of trilogy or something. You see what I'm saying? But we're going to find out a lot more about this in the future. But this is some recent information that apparently he had from insiders, so we'll see how this goes. But if that's the case, then they are going to make this a smaller scale and make it into an expansion, and then give Jin Sakai his successor. Because in one thing that I will tell you that is also off is when they do decide to do these small AAA titles, like you would see in First Light and Spider-Man, Miles Morales, and Last of Us and Uncharted or whatever. They're already integrated in the original story. She's not integrated in original Ghost of Tsushima. So this is the first time where it would be way off the mark. It just doesn't make any sense. But they're trying to do that because they don't want to make it seem like they could ruin the franchise by people finding out that this would actually be the direct sequel. So yeah, there's a lot of answers that we need to get onto this. Let me know what y'all think. Like I said, I really liked Ghost of Tsushima 1. I got a platinum on it. I did everything. I played the DLC. And I'm annoyed that they would try to already damage that. The only type of people that don't want to do this is somebody who wants to damage the Japanese culture and still mess with the Japanese mail. So, yeah, I think we know what I'm talking about, right? Who will be the biggest enemy of the Japanese? Not Western society. It's pretty obvious, right? All right, y'all. Like, subscribe. Let me know what y'all think. Definitely Japan. Peace out, y'all.